Well, as we all know, it seems like that extreme dangerous heat is still continuing to be the dominant hazard as we go throughout this holiday weekend through July 4th and into next week. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. Not severe storms, not excessive rainfall, not anything along those lines. It is the dangerous heat that will continue, that will make our forecast and make our July 4th weekend a bit complicated for some. And so we're going to talk about that. That's definitely a main point for today. But the main thing in general for today, is the July 2026 forecast. It is finally here, and as we're done with June, we're now moving into July. It's time for a new forecast. So congratulations for making it all the way to July. And we have some stuff that on tap tonight. Obviously, mostly dry with isolated evening showers possible early tonight. Highs tomorrow looking to be pretty hot. Dangerous extreme heat with heat advisories likely Friday going all the way through into Sunday. Continued heat with scattered afternoon showers and storms possible for limited relief early next week. And another round of extreme heat is likely for later on next week. All of that we're going to go in and talk about. But if you have not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, please go on and do so. It is free. It is free. It is free. And it always will be. Starting off, what is going on right now throughout the entire state of South Carolina? Well, for right now, it seems like that we are looking nice and dry. No rainfall right now throughout the entire state. And honestly, if you saw this morning's forecast, you know that today actually just really was not a bad day at all. I mean, it really looked like we weren't going to receive any rainfall, even though we were under a severe thunderstorm watch. Yes, we were under Oconee County up there in the upstate was under a severe thunderstorm watch earlier this evening. I even posted about it on Twitter, and I posted about it on YouTube. So if you were on YouTube or if you were on Twitter and you follow me, you saw it. You should have at least seen that post that was put out by me about that severe thunderstorm watch. Now, what's going on right now throughout the entire U.S.? We do have some rainfall with some severe storms going on throughout Alabama. We see some severe storms throughout Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, even some rainfall with some severe weather going on in Texas. And up there in Montana, we have some strong storms. But the main thing up here inside of New York, I mean, we have winds of up to 70 miles per hour pushing throughout New York State as we speak right now, and it's continuing to move its way down, seems to be more towards the east, moving throughout Syracuse, move throughout Watertown, Lowville, going on into Malone, New York, and then also over here in Vermont and New Hampshire. They're getting some severe storms of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and some quarter-sized hail. So they are receiving a good amount of some severe weather, and this is all due to the high pressure that we have. This is all due to the high pressure that we have. The high pressure that's currently down here in the southeast. That's what's causing kind of this ring around us, this ring of severe weather that's kind of going on. And then obviously we have some in the middle as well, but also you kind of see how the severe thunderstorm watches kind of go on and ring around the Ohio Valley, ring around the southeast, and it's because of that high pressure that's currently over us right now that's keeping these severe storms away from us right now. Now, what about for our cloud cover? Cloud cover, we're looking nice. No cloud cover statewide, it seems. Now, obviously, you could always be missing like a tiny little cloud somewhere, but for the most part, we're looking mostly clear. Now, as we move on later into tonight, cloud cover does seem like it may want to try and get going towards the western half of the state, but it doesn't really last too long. We even go into tomorrow afternoon, and it looks honestly okay. It looks okay. I mean, mostly clear throughout the entire state. You move over into Friday morning, this is going to around 7 o'clock in the morning all the way into Friday afternoon. And Friday afternoon comes along, and we're seeing again clear conditions. Clear. Now, what about for our current temperatures right now? We're talking about 78 in Somerville, 78 Charleston, 80 Beaufort, 83 in Orangeburg, as well as 77 in Conway, 79 in Myrtle Beach, 85 in Columbia, and 84 in Newberry, 85 Lawrence and 86 in Greenville, Spartanburg 85 in Gaffney, 87 in Clemson. Air quality for tonight. Well, would you look at this? If you're in the low country, you're in the Grand Strand areas, it looks like that you're good for tonight. If you're in the Midlands, the PD areas, the upstate, the foothills, you look pretty good. But looking over there towards the eastern upstate, over there near Rock Hill, over there near York counties, it looks like that we actually are seeing an orange and a code red of unhealthy for sensitive groups in the orange and just unhealthy in general in the red. And so it seems like most of these areas are included are like areas like Fort Mill, going over into Rock Hill, to Fort Lawn, to Lancaster, and to Great Falls, South Carolina. It seems like those areas are inside the orange and the red. So if you're in those areas tonight, make sure that you really are paying attention for air quality as you move into tonight, and try not to spend too much time outside tonight due to the air quality concern that's currently going on up there right now. Now, what about for our low temperatures for tonight? It looks like we're talking about 76 in Greenville, 75 Spartanburg, 73 in Columbia, 71 Orangeburg, and even 70 in Moncks Corner, 75 in Charleston, and 70 in Georgetown, 77 Hilton Head Island, and 73 in Myrtle Beach, 69 inside of Dillon. Now, high temperatures for tomorrow, we're talking about 99 in Greenville, Spartanburg, even 98 in Winsboro, 98 in Orangeburg, and even 97 in Kingstree, Florence, 90 Georgetown, 87 in Myrtle Beach, and 91 in Charleston, 90 in Hilton Head Island. Heat index values for tomorrow looks pretty hot, but not really in the low country, not really in the Grand Strand. It's the upstate. The upstate, 105, 106 degrees as a feel-like temperature tomorrow definitely is possible for a good amount of the upstate. Again, that goes from Spartanburg to Rock Hill to Anderson over into Camden. So it's going to be hot tomorrow, especially in the upstate. Rainfall-wise, we're talking about maybe 1/100 of an inch to 1/10 of an inch over there from Spartanburg over into Gaffney, over into York counties, and then a little bit over there inside of Pickens County. We see like 1/100 of an inch to 1/10 of an inch over there, but somebody in this spot may see around 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch as we move throughout the next 24 hours. So just make sure that you are aware of what's going on as you move over into the next 24 hours in these areas. Now for the SPC outlook. Obviously, we know what the SPC likes to do. They like to go in and update it right at around 9 o'clock or so. So let's see, did they update it? They did update the SPC outlook for tonight. And honestly, the marginal risk is gone. I don't think anybody is really shocked by that. We're not really seeing much in terms of rainfall activity at all. So I think that we're good there for the most part. And then tomorrow things start to get a little bit interesting. Things start to get a little bit interesting as we go over into tomorrow. And my bad about that audio. I just realized I forgot to mute it. It's muted now, though. But tomorrow things start to get a little bit interesting. We see a slight risk of severe weather for tomorrow, Thursday, July 2nd, 2026. Yes, a slight risk of severe weather up there inside of the foothills area of the state. Now, what's the risk? Well, damaging winds, number one, a 15% risk of damaging winds up there for tomorrow. And then hail. You also have a 5% risk of damaging hail. So if you're in the yellow, you have a 15% risk of damaging winds and a 5% chance of damaging hail. What about if you're in the dark green? If you're in the dark green, you have a 5% risk of damaging winds, and then like about half of the dark green, kind of towards the slight risk, has a 5% risk of damaging hail. But if you're on like the outer parts of the dark green, really don't have that much of a hail threat. I mean, it could, you still could see some small hail. Don't get me wrong. Just because you have that you don't have that 5% risk of large hail, does not mean that you could not see some small hail either. So make sure you watch for small hail. And the same thing if you're in the light green. Gusty winds, small hail, all of that's possible. Now, if you're not in the light green, you're good for thunderstorms for tomorrow, but we know how summer is. We know what summer does, and anything can happen if a shower does get going. Day 3, Friday, no severe weather, but again, non-severe thunderstorms are possible throughout all the upstate, all the Midland areas, even going on over into the PD areas. We're starting to see some of that activity start to kind of go on over there. Now, as we go over into fire weather is not really expected at this time. Excessive rainfall is not either. So let's go over the crazy score for tonight, which we are at an 8 in the calm category. No significant weather, clear skies, light clouds. Makes sense. I mean, we're talking about clear skies. We're talking about light clouds right now as we speak. And so, again, I don't think that that's really a shocker. Don't really think that that's really a shocker. But you also got to remember that it's going to be pretty muggy tonight. So even though we may be, in that calm category, you got to remember that it's going to be muggy tonight. It's going to be, very, very warm tonight for this, obviously, for this time of year, where we're in the mid 70s going up into the upper 70s for a lot of us. So, you may not be thinking about it much. You may be inside, but for some people who may be outside doing stuff tonight, it could get pretty warm, and it could get, maybe not at a level of dangerous to where if it was like during the day, but it's an underrated topic. It's definitely an underrated topic when it comes to these low temperatures and the fact that there's going to be no relief at all. And especially with winds not going either, kind of also just adds on to it. So let's go on now and take a look at the models for the future. We're going to start with the short-term future first, and we're going to start off here at 9 o'clock p.m. And just as we go in and push this forward, we go into tomorrow morning, we're not seeing anything bad. We go into tomorrow, like early afternoon, things look good. But I want you to watch 3 o'clock p.m. going into 4 o'clock p.m. Why? Well, we start to see some of those showers and storms move in from North Carolina and move their way down into the state of South Carolina. And as we move into around 5 o'clock p.m., 6 o'clock p.m., those showers and storms get going, and then that severe risk does come along. We move to around 7 o'clock p.m., moving in over into around 8 o'clock p.m., 9. And, we still see some storms going on even as we get to around 11 p.m., but then once we move to around 12 o'clock in the morning, things start to kind of chill out. Things start to kind of recede and go away. And as we get into Friday morning, going into Friday afternoon, showers and storms don't seem to really pop up until like later. So remember, time frame for the severe storms tomorrow seem to be in the upstate around 3 to 12 o'clock in the morning, and you really can see a good little bit of shower and storm activity going on, like in this little line over here. This is at, 8 o'clock p.m., so before 7 to 8 p.m. And also remember that hail risk is also there. So that out of the way, what about the long-term future? It looks like right now that we are just continuing to see dry conditions as we move into Friday afternoon, but as we move into Friday evening, you see some moisture kind of around, but the GFS doesn't really like the idea too much of really any shower or storm activity going on, even though the SPC is saying yes, there will be some. GFS doesn't really like it that much. You move over into the weekend, July 4th. July 4th looking a lot drier than what it was looking like maybe you could say like a week ago or so. And it looks pretty dry now. Looks pretty dry. But again, a lot of people still may have rain chances as we go over into July 4th. I know a lot of people definitely will still have that risk for that rainfall just because, number one, this is a long-term model, so it's not really going to show too much in terms of high detail, but it will also, you also have 81 hours left to go. So things are still possible, things are still brewing, things are still, going to be up into the air. But as we get closer and closer, as we get into like tomorrow going into, that's going to the 3rd, we definitely will start to see what's going to happen on the 4th in terms of high detail. Now, as you move more into Sunday night, I know that we will have some moisture really trying to return. And then as we get into next week, Monday, going into Tuesday, and just the week in general through Wednesday, Thursday comes along, you're really going to see an uptick in terms of that beneficial rainfall. You will start to see beneficial, potentially close to regionally widespread rainfall throughout a good amount of the state as we move into next week. This is why I said the past couple of days that next week, going forward, we're going to be above average in terms of precipitation. And, obviously, I'm not the only one saying that. the Climate Prediction Center, the experts are also saying the same thing. And so we're now looking at this, and we're continuing even into Friday, going into Saturday of next weekend here. You don't really see it too much to start off Saturday, but then as you move more later on, moving on into Sunday, and then just the future in general, look at this big storm system that may try to do something as we get into mid-July as well. So again, will that happen? You know, we still have a long ways to go. I mean, 384 hours, a long ways to go before we get there. But I think the main thing that a lot of people may not be paying attention to is how we move over into next week. And when we do move over into next week, we're going to start to see that rainfall activity start to spike up. Now, how much rainfall are we expecting to see over the next 300 to 400 hours? Well, according to the GEFS is saying around maybe high 1-inch area to maybe around the high 2-inch area. Not a lot, you know, not a good amount, but it's still rainfall nonetheless. And so I think that any rainfall coming in would definitely help us out in terms of the drought. But if we really want to see this drought get away, I say this almost every night, that we have low totals like this throughout the next 300 to 400 hours. And you may be saying, okay, well, I mean, an inch of rainfall is not a lot. So why are you saying that it's not a lot? Well, yes, technically an inch or two is a lot, but you got to think about it over the 384-hour time span. That's over 2 weeks and some change. An inch of rainfall in summertime with 2 weeks and some change may not be a whole lot. Now, I know once you get more up into the 2-inch area, more into the almost close to 3-inch area, then we're talking about some good rainfall there. And so that's why I say, I mean, most of us probably will see some good rainfall as we move over into the next 300 to 400 hours, and especially because we're going to start seeing some beneficial rainfall into next week. But this really brings up a question of, if next week looks pretty good and next week provides us most of the rainfall, what does that say about the week after, and why isn't these totals a lot higher? That's just my question, and that's what I'm just going to continue to go on and kind of look at for the future. But this is just what the GEFS says right here. I mean, good amounts overall, so not necessarily a bad thing. And then as you move over into the European model, the European also is around like 1.9. You see around 1.8 or so. And then even as you move into the coastal area, you're seeing around 2.5. So again, not bad either. Not bad at all. So what's going on in terms of our temperatures? And so this is the main thing, which, by the way, the July forecast is coming up in just a moment. This is kind of just like the first half of July here. We're going to be talking about the averages and the pattern and all that kind of stuff. So we're not pushing off all of July. But as we move over into tomorrow, we know that tomorrow is going to be above average, and we know that this weekend is going to be above average. We move into Friday, we move into Saturday, we move into Sunday. We're 10, 15, close to 20 degrees above average as we move on later into this weekend. We go over into Monday and then even over into Tuesday, still 10 to 15 degrees above average. Now watch as you move later on into next week, Friday. You start to see still 10 to 15 degrees above average. We go over into Saturday. We go over into Sunday. And then it just really looks like that we're going to stay above average for the majority of the first half of July. Now, 300 hours out, things are going to change. Things are going to be manipulated. Things are going to be adjusted. But it looks like that the first half of July could really be above average in terms of temperatures. And one thing that you also do want to look at is watch as you go later into mid-July, because the GFS, even though, like I said, this is the deterministic, it has some cooler air maybe trying to move through with that one storm system that we saw mid-July. Again, a long ways away. Now, what's going on in terms of our actual temperatures? Well, we move on over into Thursday. We know we're going to be up close towards the 100s. We go over into Friday. We go into July 4th. We're up into the 100s for actual temperatures. July 4th, we know that that's going to happen. Sunday moves on, and Sunday looks even hotter. Monday looks still pretty hot, but maybe not as hot. Same thing with Tuesday. And just as we move throughout next week in general, it doesn't really look too hot. I think that Sunday, I'm really watching for Sunday to really be the most, really be like the most hottest day of them all. And that's really just because it looks like that we're going to have temperatures close to 103, 104, maybe even close to 105 on an actual scale. Not really on a heat index scale, but on an actual scale. And so that's good and all on the actual scale. But what about for the heat index values? Well, you move over. We know that we're talking about up at near 105 tomorrow. Tomorrow, we know on Friday we're looking at somewhere close to those same amounts. But watch as we move into July 4th, we're up to 103. See some 104s. I see some 106s going on. We move into Sunday. Oh, Sunday, we start to see 107. I see 108 in some spots as we move into Sunday. And then as we go into Monday, things start to take a little bit of a receding, even though not really, kind of, not really. It actually almost like it kind of like flips. It flips from like the upstate down towards the low country areas. But temperatures take a little bit of a receding, I think. But heat index values seem like they want to try and stay the same. I mean, I see like 108 here. This goes over more into next week, Friday. So when I say that July 4th is not the only time frame that we're watching for this heat, this continues all the way into the future. Now, what's going on in terms of the ensembles for our future? Well, as we move into Saturday, going over into Sunday, we move over just into like mid-July. Overall, things still look hot. Things still look pretty hot. 92, 93, 94 degrees on average in between the models as we move more into mid-July. So does the ensembles really say anything in terms of, a big storm system maybe trying to come through later on? I think that it does have something. You can kind of see it over here. Moving on as we go into like Monday, going into like Wednesday and Thursday of like mid-July. Like that's that's the 13th going all the way over into around the 16th and the 17th. It has something there. So we could be talking about a little mid-month storm system that may try to come in and cool us down a little bit. So that's something to look forward to if you want these hot temperatures to go away. You have something to look forward to mid-month, but really, you still have a long way to go. And that's pretty much all I have to say here in terms of pretty much the first half, except for the pattern. But before we get to the pattern real quick, let's go on and talk about the whole month of July just in general. So not talking about specific models, not talking about what's going on in terms of precipitation on a model scale or temperatures on a model scale. What does the actual averages say? Well, we're going to start off July monthly temperatures. Let me adjust my screen. So this right here is the monthly temperature outlook for July 2026. And as you can see, South Carolina down there in that bottom right corner, we have a 50 to a 60% chance of above average temperatures. So that meaning that above average temperatures are likely as we move into next month. Now, you may be asking, well, above average temperatures, does that mean for like the entire month? No, it just means for the majority of the month could be above average. And it's looking like that. I mean, we saw as we moved all the way into mid-July, all of that warmer air that's going to be trying to move into the state. Now, that's temperatures. What about precipitation? Precipitation, equal chances. So what does that mean? That means that it's not really going to be above average and it's not really going to be below average. It's going to be a normal July, it seems. It seems. Now, remember as I moved into the ensembles said are maybe around 2 inches or so as we move from now going to like July 15th, July 16th, 2-3 inches for a couple of us. But you also got to take into account that it does not count the end of the month. And we also could be seeing that storm system later on going on into like the mid part of the month. So all of that gets taken into account. And so that's why I said it's not really going to be below average and it's not really going to be above average. It could be either. I mean, it really could. That's why it's equal chances. That's why it's equal chances, because it could be below average, could be above average, could just be near normal, and it really could. It really could. So we're going to go on and take a look at our last area, which is the pattern. And this is obviously where we kind of go on and just take a look at what's going on throughout the atmosphere. But obviously, this is the thing that's above us right now. The high pressure over here, over inside the eastern U.S., that's what's causing this severe weather. You have obviously the cooler air over here to the north. You have some cooler air up to the north over here. You have the warmer air down here. You have the warmer air down here. And then in the middle, that's why we're seeing all that severe weather in Wisconsin. That's why we're seeing all this severe weather in northern Michigan, in the UP of Michigan. That's why we're seeing all this severe weather in New York, in Vermont, in New Hampshire. It's because of this high pressure that's over here inside of the eastern U.S. and this low pressure that's up there in Canada. Now, as we go on and continue this, and time should be at the top part of your screen, as we go in and push this forward, you can see as we go into like July 2nd, July 3rd, July 4th, that high pressure is still going to stay, but then it kind of equals out. And then we kind of just see like this, zonal state to where we have some warmer conditions, also maybe some drier conditions towards the south, and then some cooler, maybe some more moist conditions up here inside of the north up here. And so as we move more on, going into like the 5th, going into the 6th, we start to see this ridge really start to kind of grow, especially over there inside the west. We start to see the kind of like this activity start to grow a little bit more inside of the west, in terms of a ridge activity, but then you see it kind of trying to get back in the southeast. And so you're not really seeing really any major storm systems, but you see this kind of like this slide right here, what's going on in between the air masses. This is where we're still going to see some of that thunderstorm activity, some of that severe weather activity up here in the northern U.S. as you go more into like July 1st, July 2nd. And then look, as we move over into mid-July, the west is going to be exploding in terms of like a major heat domes. I mean, they could be talking about major heat over there, major dry activity, record-breaking heat as you move into mid-July over there in the western part of the U.S. They really could be. I mean, there's even some purples over there. We don't even see that over here in the eastern U.S. But then, while that's going on for them over there, watch how we're getting a divot over here inside of the east. You remember earlier I said a storm system could be trying to come through later on. This is why we have this huge ridge over here in the west. We have this divot going on over here inside of the east. That's going to be causing us to receive some more storm activity. And so we could see maybe a little train of activity, a little train of shower and thunderstorm activity, with obviously that chance of severe weather, with that chance of excessive rainfall through mid-month. And you want me to show you the proof? Here it is. There goes, a main storm system over here in the east, and look out there in the west. You want to see temperatures? Oh, well, here it is. Now, these are obviously anomalies, so it's not going to be, obviously be like the actual temperatures themselves, but you can see how warm it is over here in the west. And then there goes our storm system with our cooling down temperatures over here in the east. So that's pretty much all I had to say there. That was a lot to get over. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody during that. I tried to explain that as well as I possibly could have. But I think that is about all I have to really say for July. So July, for the most part, we know it's going to be above average in terms of temperatures for the most part. And then for precipitation, going to be just near normal. If not, it could be either way. It could be below average, could be above average. It really could be either. It's a toss-up. So let's go on now and talk about earthquakes, because we had an earthquake today. There was an earthquake today throughout the state of South Carolina, and it was up here in Salem, 9 kilometers northeast of Salem, South Carolina. That is pretty close to the border of North Carolina, and it's right there on, I cannot read that lake name, I can't read that. It's very, very small on my screen. It starts with a J. It's like, right, let me see if I can look that up real quick, because I cannot see that on like the small screen. Lake Jocassee. I hope I said that correctly. I really hope I said that correctly. But Seemed like the earthquake happened right there, right in the water. So it was a 1.9 or 1.6, excuse me. So that's very, very weak. Didn't really cause anything. Maybe some people may not have even felt it, but it's honestly just that continuation of what I've been saying. Make sure that you're prepared for any earthquake that comes towards you, or if it happens, you know what your plan is. Whether if it's to get under a table or to go in and protect yourself, protect your head, all that kind of stuff for when it does come to an earthquake, because you never know when the next one's going to come to you, as earthquakes are unpredictable. We cannot predict when earthquakes are going to happen. And that's pretty much all I have to say here throughout the forecast for tonight, at least the main part. Let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off with my Nana first. She was here first. Says, hello, Jay and all. Hello to you. My poor little plants could not take the heat. Should have brought them inside of the Florida room. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Hopefully you still have some that are left. Hopefully. You still have some that are left that you can still go in and take care of. My Aunt Lou says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Today in Georgetown, it was a beautiful hot day. I thank everyone for their prayers in the passing of my sister. But today in Georgetown, our high was around 86 degrees. With humidity, it was around 92. Currently, it's around 76 degrees. Well, no problem. No problem at all for the prayers. And then, thank you so much for the weather report inside of Georgetown. Terrell says, greetings, everyone. Greetings to you. That says, good evening, just from the 360 weather family. I trust all is well. It was a very hot day here in San Antonio. We had a high of around 93. Not too breezy as the past few days. Hopefully, we will get a blessing in the form of precipitation in the hopefully near future. Well, as I always like to go on and take a look, kind of at San Antonio, because when y'all kind of say stuff about locations outside of South Carolina, I usually like to go on and take a look. But the past couple of nights I've kind of been checking beforehand, and yeah, be honest with you, yeah, I don't really see it. I don't really see it too much. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. Don't really see it too much, but obviously, hopefully there is some miracle that comes along and you start to receive some precipitation later on, rather, if it be in like the next couple of days. Hopefully something does try to pop up. But for right now, over the next 7 days, no precipitation for you. Milo Lewis says, I would like to get some rainfall. Absolutely. And then Mr. Daniel says, my grass and plants, even with watering, are taking a hit with this heat. Yeah, I think my plant's actually done. I've had my plant for, I think about 2-3 years at this point. And I think that it finally died, which is actually, it's drought resistant. So I don't know how in the world that even happened, but I think my plant's actually officially dead. So I'm gonna have to get a new one. Hopefully sooner than later, but which is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But let's go in and talk about number one, the top fan question of the night for tonight. We already do have some honorable mentions out there, but we'll go on and get into the honorable mentions in a moment. I want to go on and do the top fan question of the night for tonight. Let's see, what am I going to choose from for tonight? I think that I'm going to deal it off of, the severe weather from earlier. Okay, so I'm going to try and do it from something that's not the main topic, see if people were paying attention. If you were paying attention, this should be a pretty easy one for you. What day was it that I said that severe weather was possible for the state of South Carolina? What day was it? And you have to give me a day. It can't be like, 2 days, tomorrow, it has to be the day that I said that severe weather is possible. If you can go in and give me the exact day that I said that severe weather is possible, you will be top fan of the night for tonight. So go on and start typing that away. I'll come back to that in just a moment, but let's go on and talk about the 4 areas outside of South Carolina. You might be asking, 4 areas, what am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas, because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly, and because they tune in almost nightly, we go on and give them their forecast for them. Starting off with San Antonio first, you have low temperatures tonight at 75, high temperatures for tomorrow at 93, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 76. No precipitation is expected for the next 7 days. Severe weather, excessive rainfall, not expected for you either. Now, in terms of your future, temperature wise, you're going to continue to kind of just stay in the mid 90s. You're not really going to leave the mid 90s, kind of just going to stay there in that mid 90 range as you move throughout the next 7 days. Now, what about for Raleigh, North Carolina? Low temperatures tonight at 72, high temperatures for tomorrow at 99, and then low temperatures tomorrow night seem to be around 74. No precipitation is expected until around Sunday night going into Monday or so, and just next week just looks pretty active, but that kind of is in line for what I've been saying for South Carolina and the fact how we have, good amount of rainfall due to just those summer thunderstorms as we go into next week. And seem like the same thing for you over there inside of Raleigh. Now, what about for your severe weather in terms of your excessive rainfall? For right now, oops, that is the wrong one. Looks like for right now that you are in the clear. Looks like that you're in the clear. Excessive rainfall wise, as you go throughout day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it looks like that you're good there as well. Now for your future, it's going to continue to be hot. I mean, like 103 degrees on Sunday. In fact, this is your least hottest day of the week, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow 99, Friday 101, Saturday 102, Sunday 103. And so it's just going to continue to just stay hot. I mean, even as you go into next week, you're still going to be having some days up into the 100s. Before we go and talk about Philadelphia, let's go on and see what's going on in terms of answers. And I do not see a correct answer. Not Saturday, not Sunday, and not Friday. Not Saturday, not Sunday, and not Friday. So, again, it's anybody's game. You just got to put a day inside the chat. I mean, right now you have 25% shot. Or, no, I counted that wrong. Wait, yes, I did. You have a 25% shot of going on and getting it correct. Literally, it's either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. You gotta pick one of those. So moving on to Philadelphia, you have low temperatures tonight at 77, high temperatures for tomorrow at 105, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at around 82. Severe thunderstorms are possible tonight. Severe thunderstorms are possible for tonight. Tomorrow, no precipitation is expected at this time. Again, no precipitation is expected at this time for you tomorrow. And then Friday, no precipitation. Saturday, you do have some rainfall going on there. And then just for next week in general, a good amount of rainfall may be trying to come in throughout next week. Now, one thing I will say is you do have a risk of excessive rainfall on Sunday. Sunday, isolated flash flooding for you is a possibility. Now, if we go on and take a look at your SPC outlook, you also do have a risk of severe thunderstorms for Friday. Friday, July the 3rd, you have a slight risk of severe weather. 15% risk of severe weather, so make sure that you're paying attention for Friday, July the 3rd. And remember, you do have a chance of rainfall on Independence Day as well. So that's also a day that you could be watching out for some severe weather potentially. Now, as you go on and take a look at your future temperature-wise, you're going to continue to kind of stay up into the 100s throughout the rest of the weekend. But then as you go into next week, you will be taking a good break. Tuesday of next week, 87 being your high temperature. 87. So it's going to definitely calm down for you. And then finally, Duncan, Oklahoma. Low temperatures tonight at 75. High temperatures for tomorrow at 95. And then low temperatures tomorrow night at 75 as well. It seems like that no precipitation is expected until around Sunday of next week. Slight chance of thunderstorms on Sunday, but then other than that, you're staying dry, you're staying nice, no severe weather, no excessive rainfall all the way throughout days 1 through 5. And just for your future, temperatures are going to continue to stay up into the 90s and the high 90s for that matter. And that's all I have to say here throughout the forecast for tonight for those areas. So let's go on real quick and see, do I have anything inside of my email? First off, seems like I do not. So we're going to go on and move off of that. Let me go on and check out the top fans real quick. And I do see the correct answer inside of the chat. The correct answer for tonight is Thursday, tomorrow. Tomorrow we had a slight risk of severe weather. that is up there for the upstate. Friday, we had a risk of thunderstorms, but it was not severe. And next week, Monday, is a bit too far out. And next week, Tuesday, is as well. And also, not today, because we're done with severe weather for today. So, congratulations to Thad for going on and getting on that answer and getting the top fan of the night for tonight. If you want to be like that, you can. You just have to be here early. You have to be here, hopefully, be here being a subscriber, because if you're not a subscriber, you can't type at all, so you can't participate anyway. And then also, you also have to go on and be paying attention. Be paying attention, obviously, because if you are not and you miss something, yeah, I guess you could guess, but if it's a pretty hard question, you have to know. You have to know. You have to know. That's pretty much all there. Honorable mentions, my Nana was on there, Mr. Daniel was on there, and then my Aunt Lula was also on there. Congratulations to the three of y'all for being the honorable mentions for the top fan of the night tonight. And that's all that I can see here. So let's go on and wrap this on up. What's going on throughout the entire U.S. weather news-wise? Dangerous record-breaking heat will intensify across most of the central and the eastern U.S. this week. Heat indices will likely exceed 100 degrees. Severe thunderstorms are also forecasted across parts of the upper Midwest, into the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the Central High Plains. Critical fire weather conditions will also continue across portions of the Four Corner areas and the Great Basin. So, honestly, I think that the thing that most people are talking about right now is the heat. I mean, you're seeing extreme heat warnings from Iowa to Wisconsin to the entire state of Illinois, all the way over into Arkansas, up into the Northeast. I mean, it's going to be hot throughout all of the East, all of the Midwest, all of the Ohio Valley, just as we go into this weekend. So, no matter where you go, does not matter where you go throughout the East, it will be hot. And then over inside the West, like I said, they're not really receiving too much right now. In fact, we were seeing some freezing over there a little bit ago. But for right now, obviously, they're definitely looking a lot better. Like highs of up into the 70s in some spots, with lows into the 50s in some spots as well. But that's pretty much all there. In terms of, anything in the future in terms of severe weather for outside of South Carolina, because I do know that there is a risk of severe weather tomorrow over there inside of, the Dakotas over there into like Milwaukee, Wisconsin, moving over into Green Bay, Wisconsin. And then as you go into, this is Friday, Philadelphia, New York, going on over into, over there into the Dakotas, once again, over into Iowa and then northern Nebraska. So a lot of severe weather also will be going on throughout a good amount of the U.S. as this heat is also going on. And I think that that's all I have to say here for tonight. So I will be back tomorrow for your Thursday morning forecast update. Also tomorrow evening, the drought monitor comes out. So make sure that you are there for that. And then we will also be here Friday night for the future. And remember, huge announcement that's coming out next week. It pretty much is done. I just need to test some stuff with it real quick, and it will be released next week if all goes to plan. Again, a huge announcement coming out next week. You do not want to miss that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button. We're at 760, trying to get to that main goal of 800. Let's go on and get there. 40 away. 15 away from the 3/4 of the way mark. I'll be back tomorrow. Hit those two buttons before you leave if you're new.